Did a quick. I feel like the intro just cut off there for a second.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah. Either way,
We
what's
got
going
this.
on? Welcome in to another episode of Expected Bets for your go-to podcast for all things hockey betting. I am Gator Betting, joined by my co-host today, Franco the Banker. Franco, you went to the Flyers game last night. That seemed interesting. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, there were quite a few Isles fans there last night, which was, I guess that's kind of to be expected. I don't know. I didn't know
Is
Isles
it?
fans traveled. I mean that's a far drive, man. I mean, I can't imagine there's that many Isles fans in Philly, but whatever. There were quite a few Isles fans there last night. Obviously, the Flyers looked like shit. Mitch Cobb got benched like midway through the second period, and they were being quite loud and cheering and chanting "Let's go Islanders." So I decided that I would start yelling "Let's go Flyers" louder than them. So now my voice is a little bit shot today. My wife was looking at me like I was crazy while doing it. So here we are. Yeah, man. I mean, I just don't get how that team can, as a franchise, expect anybody to want to go see games if your star player's bench for half the game. So, and you haven't scored in 3 games now, or 2 games in a row now.
Yeah, the that time on ice prop I took on, what was it, Wednesday night too, Mitchkov over 14. Thank God I took it then and not last night because he went way under that number. Interesting market. There's a few of those today that we can talk about. Adam's Digest, I asked him to join today, but I know he's working, but he brought up a really, really interesting time on ice prop that we can go over in the Vancouver game. But any other thoughts? Flyers make a trade. Thoughts with Calgary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of posted a thing kind of summarizing my thoughts on it after, digesting the information, all that fun stuff. On the surface, it looks like a fleecing by Calgary, right? You're getting 2 players that were playing first and second line on the Flyers for Kuzmenko, who kind of has been banished to the, scratched game in and game out for them, playing third line minutes, and then Peltier, who's been a fourth liner, not really a significant piece, but the more I look at it, the more it makes sense kind of for both sides. Philly really, I think you look at a guy like Farabee and, he was a former top 10, I believe, pick for them. He had that scoring ability, scoring touch, and then all of a sudden it kind of just like fell off. He did have like a back injury, I believe, a year ago. So I don't know if it's tied to that, but he just doesn't look very good on the ice. So I mean, I'm not sad to see him go, to be honest with you. And he was signed through like the 28 season. So you're getting rid of his cap hit for another 4 years, 3 years, and Frost was an expiring contract. And I mean, how many more re-ups do you give a guy at 25, 26 before you're like, okay, like this guy's not working out? It's like you see the flashes, he has the talent, but he just can't put it together. And maybe it's Torts, I don't know, but I think both guys need to change the scenery. So
No, it couldn't be sports.
Maybe they'll work out in Calgary, or maybe they are what we've seen and they're just stuck with what they are. I mean, they're decent players, but like they don't move the needle to me. Like they're not. I think when it really comes down to, are they a part of the Flyers' future? No, I don't think they're good enough to be. They're supposed to be top 6 players, and they're not, at least at this point in their career and what we've seen so far, top 6 players. So, I think when all's said and done, you get a second as Philly did, and a guy like Kuzmenko, who at least is friends with Michkov. So, but yeah, I mean, I crack up about too, because it's like, you're really gonna go out and get Kuzmenko, who can't like stay on Calgary. He'll get benched, absolutely. I mean, he's the same, that he's just that type of player. So we'll see what happens there, but he's an expiring contract too. I think when all's said and done, this gets us closer to a little bit of a tank. Maybe we get a top 5 pick, and I mean, Kuzmenko scored 40 goals like 2 years ago.
Embrace the suck. You can join the Sabres mindset.
Yeah, I mean, this team's not good enough. So like, let's just move on from that and acquire picks and do it.
Let's do it. All right. let's get into the slate for tonight. Nashville at Buffalo. Buffalo plus 105 on the money line at Nashville minus 125. Total set at 6.5. Minus 115 to the over. Franco, you're going to notice a theme with a lot of my picks today. I'm calling it D-Men Day. I have a ton of props on defensemen tonight that I absolutely love. On a little bit of a hot streak, hate to toot my own horn here, but 9-0 in the last 2 days. So we'll see if we can stay hot tonight. Any props for you before I get into mine? Let's see if we're on the same page in Nashville, Buffalo.
I'm just gonna blindly tail you at this point. So before I get into this game, just my betting personally, at least over the past like 2 weeks, maybe really the month has been shit. Just to put it bluntly. Player props I feel like have been kind of at the root of it, so I've kind of laid off a little bit, way less than I'm typically as far as volume goes on the player prop market. So I'm going to mainly have, as far as the slate goes, I'm mainly going to have sides totals. I will give a little bit of leans towards player props, but I don't know how many I'm actually going to have when all said and done. So just take that with a grain of salt with whatever I say about player props, because like I said, they've been shit for me. I just haven't lost the sauce. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, last week I got killed too, and then this week it's like, all right, a little bit of a bounce back, but a weird NHL season. Very weird.
Yeah,
NHL season.
It's been funky. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've just seen even last year, right? It was a little weird season last year, but at least you still had the scoring there, and you kind of had a few key players that you can rely on. Now it seems like it's just a full mess across the board. Scoring's down, like odds are overinflated, especially when it comes to points and shots on goal. Shots on goal have been fixed a little bit, but it seems like books didn't account for the drop in scoring and still just kept overinflating props, like looking back at the last month and a half.
Yeah, I mean, you see guys at minus 150, minus 160 for a point. You know, I get it. Like, they're talented players, they get a ton of ice time, but you can't look at like the consistency numbers like you typically can, right? You're like, this guy's on a 5-game point streak, or this line's really humming, and it just seems like if you hop on at that time for whatever reason, that's the game they're gonna go cold, and it's gonna be the third line producing or the second line or whatever the case is. So that's just how it's been for me. And I think, frankly, like when it comes down to capping, especially player props in general, we're almost taking into account like a side and a total. Like if we like guys to score or point props, like chances are we like the over there. We're not taking it, but we've already capped the game for a side and total perspective, essentially by backing the players that we're backing. We're like, oh, I love a lot of the Sabres players to get points tonight. Well, why the fuck aren't you taking the Sabres money line then, or their team total or something, just to kind of like cushion yourself from that protection, or protect yourself from, the shit show is going to, ensue when it's the third line scoring or whatever, so just something to consider here. And that's kind of what my shift in mindset's been. I had, my first day of winning in like 3 or 4 days. So I'm going to keep rolling with the sides and see what happens here.
Yeah, almost trying to simplify the process, where instead of trying to pick which player is going to get points, if you're expecting points from a lot of from that team, like you said, just take their money line or their team total or even the over in that game, of just really trying to go back to the core of betting itself. But this game, total set at 6.5. Sabres goalie has not been confirmed yet. It's likely, I'm guessing, going to be UPL. But we don't know yet. And then Annunen on Nashville's side, which I think why we're seeing the 6.5 total. These teams haven't met this year. Nashville's been on a little bit of a skid, losing to Vancouver 3-1, Anaheim 5-2. They're allowing a ton of goals against, 3, 5, 5, 5 in their last 4. Sabres defensively, again, not great either, but the Sabres scoring has kind of picked up. We saw against Boston where they absolutely just kind of blew them out. A few players on the Sabres side, especially for a point tonight, I think you go back to our shots on goal darling that was earlier this season of Kulik, who's on that top line with Peterka and Thompson. They debuted that line last game against Boston, and we saw how well it worked. Peterka had a hat trick. Thompson had a hat trick, and you're getting Kulik point tonight for plus 125. He's on that top line. He's on that second power play unit. I think it's a great value, especially with the amount of goals that we're expecting in this game. That's one of the point props I have that I like. I didn't. It's not on the official card yet, but looking at it now, I think there's just some value, especially a top line guy like we saw with Nyes earlier this year on Toronto. When you're getting a top guy on the first unit plus money, it seems like a pretty straightforward bet to take.
I agree with that. And I mean, just looking at the numbers for everybody else, I mean, Tage is minus 190 for a point, Paterka's minus 150 for a point. I get their power play correlated, but I don't think it really matters. I mean, you're talking about a guy, an Annan in a net that's not, I mean, he's been up and down, but if I'm going to back, if I'm going to be against Buffalo props, I would rather have Saros than that. So I think Buffalo does score a few goals here. So I don't mind the value on, a guy that's going to be playing with Tage and Peterka for a large majority of the game for sure.
So would you rather do this? So there's two bets. You take Kulik straight at plus 125, or do you do a point stack with Tage and Peterka, both on the top line, both on the top power play unit? You're getting more correlation there, and I'm trying to pull it up now, but Tage a point, Peterka a point. That is plus 116.
Yeah, I like that as well. I think you can make arguments either way.
Yep.
The correlation is nice, obviously, so that feels pretty good. You wonder though, like when does Nashville go back to what they have been? Like typically Nashville's been like a low and slow team, right? It was like,
yeah,
those typical charts you see online from, I forget like the guys' names or whatever, but everything's happening to like nothing's happening is like the four quadrants in the chart or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It felt like Nashville is the nothing is happening like quadrant, and then now it's like everything's happening out of nowhere. I mean, like what caused it? Like Jeremy Lauzon going out. Like I don't think that's the reason.
No.
So I don't know when does that change? Could it be tonight? I don't know. 6.5. It's like the only 6.5 on the board, right? Tonight. Correct. I think everything else is 5.5. So
yep,
that's kind of interesting to see. Just given what Nashville has been this year, but I think we could see goals here. One thing to note is it's Rob Ray ceremony night tonight in Buffalo, so
it is.
I know that's he was a big enforcer, man, like back in the day. So
yeah,
I remember,
him and Ty Domi
watching him.
those fights.
Yeah, heavyweight for sure. So
yeah, he's on the announcing crew right now in Buffalo too. He does games. He's in
do you think? Yeah, he's like the color guy, right, or play, whatever.
The guy on the ice or whatever. But yeah, he's between the benches.
Do you think that typically affects a game? Like, do you think that affects a game at all, for that matter? Like, or does it not matter? Like, do these guys even know who the fuck Rob Ray is?
Yeah. So Rob Ray started to get back into the Sabres. This is a little side tangent here. Several years ago, when Eichel joined the Sabres, he started to get back involved once Bagulas took over and started kind of being around the team more, getting into announcing and kind of being more of a figurehead around this franchise. All the players know him, and I think they respect him a ton. He's been very outspoken this year about how disappointed he is in this team, whether it's just effort, whether it's ownership or whatnot. This is the most like kind of vocal he's been of just like, this is enough. Like, what are we doing with this team moving forward? I don't know if it gets him fired up tonight. I don't know if that's it, but he was also very outspoken about Eichel as well, of just saying he was a huge locker room cancer and that the Sabres needed to get rid of him. So in terms of factoring that into any sort of betting equation, I'd say no, but it is interesting.
Gotcha. So, I mean, as far as sides go, I leaned the Nashville tonight, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I feel like just in general, like Buffalo it seems like they can't string wins together, right? They get a win and then nope, another loss. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
they win that game against Boston 7-2. Like, can we trust them? The game coming off of it. They beat Vancouver, on Tuesday last week, 3-2, and then they lose 5-2 to the Flames and 3-2 to the Oilers. So I just feel like this isn't a team like I want to trust, and I feel like you're getting a nice number on Nashville, who typically is that team that like the sharps are always hammering and moving the line towards. Like, I don't know why Nashville's minus 125. I mean, I guess it's because of Annunen, but like, I don't know. Or is it because of, the Rob Ray retirement? I don't know. Like, that's what I was asking. Like, does that factor in? I
Yeah, I
don't
don't think
get it.
so. No. I would agree, though. I mean, Buffalo's lack consistency, especially finding wins the past few seasons now, and then the trend has only continued. The thing I wanted to point out here is I have 2 shots on gold props. Buffalo's 7th to defenseman in their last 10 games. Roman Yossi, 3+ shots on goal, minus 135 on FanDuel tonight. He's hitting 5 of his last 6, 2 of his last 3 versus Buffalo, and 2 of his 3 on the road. The other one is going to be Brady Shea, 2+ shots on goal, minus 140, hitting 5 of his last 6 overall, each of his last 6 versus Buffalo, and 7 of his last 10 on the road at minus 140. So those are the 2 props that I have for tonight. I do kind of agree with your statement before of I think this is a prime letdown spot for the Sabres, just in the fact of we've seen over the last month no consistency in finding back-to-back wins. So that's what I have. The Kulich point's also interesting. Thompson, Peterka stack is also interesting as well.
You have any interest in going back to March or so? I know he let us down last game.
Yeah,
he's been better on the road. At least his last 10. I know minus 148 is not like a great price, but I mean he's a guy that you could even take up to 4 if you're feeling saucy. I mean when he's hit, was he hit 5 of his last 6? He's reached 4 in all those games. So again, Sabres are a target for shots in general, right? And I don't think that's a bad look either.
Yeah. Stamkos point's also interesting too. No, it's minus 150, but again, if we are expecting Nashville to kind of come through, minus 145 actually, hitting 5 of his last 7 overall, 5 of his last 7 versus Buffalo, and 7 of his last 10 on the road. So
yeah, not bad.
Yeah, not bad.
We do have Zucker revenge if you're feeling saucy there. Second line, top power play.
Zucker revenge.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's at least on the table. Should at least be mentioned, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't been bad. He hasn't been great, but know, I wish he was on the top line. Obviously, that would make me feel a little bit better. Obviously, he's lost that role that he had earlier in the season, but just something to maybe consider. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't mind moving off the top line because if the Sabres do want to have any sort of consistency moving forward of starting to get these young guys playing together, especially on that top line of Thompson, Peterka, and Kulich. So that's fine with me taking Zucker off that. Any other plays in this one?
Do we believe in Ryan O'Reilly revenge?
Yeah.
I mean, I know he used to do really well against them. I feel like it's been a lot drier, shall we say.
Yeah.
The shot props at least been hitting in his last 3 against them. He had a couple 5-shot games against them too, which is wild to me. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't love backing a guy like him, but just something to mention.
Yeah. Dave mentioned too the Peterka Thompson. I'd much more rather take their point stack over their shots on goals. And then we also talked about just taking Kulich as a straight as well. But the 2 plays I had were Yossi 3+ and then Shea 2+ as well. So those are the ones I had. Any other plays before we move on?
No, I think I'm good. I might look at a first period over or something like that, depending on how this pace goes. I know it's not really bettable right now. It's minus 145, but maybe something to consider there, or both teams to score something if you want to grab it pregame.
Yeah, I like it. All right, next game up, we have Vancouver at Dallas. Pulling up the lines right now. Vancouver plus 136, Dallas minus 162. Total set at 5.5. Even money to the over. Any sides or totals in this one for propless Franco?
I know it feels so weird that
it's strange.
my mind wants to just gravitate towards the props. I'm trying hard. It's difficult, but This one I lean a little bit slightly towards the Vancouver Canucks here. Playing a little bit better. I think the Stars are a little bit overvalued after losing a guy like Heiskanen. I think is massive. Like I think they were able to overcome it in that Vegas game, but like I don't think like long term in a full game or like multiple games that this is going to hurt them. He's such a big piece. He plays so many freaking minutes, all situations. So losing a guy like him is huge. Vancouver's on a 3-game win streak. I guess both teams are on a 3-game win streak, but Vancouver's kind of quieting the noise. Like I know there's a lot of BS going on, and I feel like any minute now we're going to hear something about Pettersson or Miller being traded. We'll see, but until then, they've looked all right over their last 3. I think it's kind of like one of those things, you go to hit the road, right? Get away from your local media and everything around you and just play some damn hockey, and they're doing it. So,
Yeah.
3-1 against the Preds, who like we just said, everything's happened in the Preds games, so it didn't happen that game. So they were shut down. Demko looked great. He's going to get the start again tonight. So I think there's some value on the Canucks at plus 136, just given that Heiskanen loss. And like Dave said in the chat, I think you have to look at Harley props regardless of what side you're looking at. Minus 105 for a point feels really stupid. I know Heiskanen hasn't really been great this year as far as like a point producer and all that fun stuff, but maybe Harley fits in that role a little bit differently than Heiskanen does, and is a little bit more productive overall. I feel like, how often has anybody bet Miro Heiskanen props this year? I know I haven't.
No,
like point,
I haven't touched him at all.
I know, like historically, he's been a guy to target, like when he gets hot, his shot prop or his point prop. But I feel like he's been a guy that hasn't really done much this year. I don't know what to say there. Like, I'm not saying he's bad or something like that, but it'll be interesting to see what Harley does given the increased role. He's going to be top power play. And I think there'll be value until the books kind of like adjust. You're getting plus money on his shots. May even look at his power play point. I don't know. I think it's worth looking at his props for sure.
Yeah, sticking with the theme today, got another defenseman prop in this one. Quinn Hughes, 3+ shots on goal, plus 115. Dallas allows the second most shots on goal to defensemen in their last 10 games. Hughes has hit in 4 of his last 7, 5 of his last 6 versus Dallas, and has a 52.2% clip on the road, hitting in 2 of his last 3 away from home. So that's kind of how I found success, is just mainly not so much focusing on a guy who's hit consistently in his last few, of just trying to focus on a matchup in this one. You're getting Hughes, who has great history against Dallas, and Dallas, who's been leaky to defensemen. So at this price, I'll take it all day. That's the only one I had in this game, though.
I like that a lot, honestly. I've been wanting to target his shot props, but I feel like, you look at his chart and it's not super consistent. So you got to make sure you're getting on at the right time. Obviously, he's coming off a game where he missed. So it seems like he's been up, down, up, down, up, down. So, yeah, this looks like an up spot. You're getting plus money. And like I said, I feel like the team's kind of like, galvanizing towards his leadership right now. He's really, he looks fantastic. I saw that one pass he made underneath the defender for that goal was just nasty. The last game. So he's playing another level. I don't mind looking at his like point prop or 2-point prop as well. It feels like when he gets a point, he gets 2. It doesn't seem like he gets 1. So plus 260
2+
for that.
points in each of his last 3 games.
Yeah. So I think you can look there. I know there's not going to be value any other real way to take him unless you're going his like goal prop or something like that. Maybe he goes assists as well. I don't know. I feel like he's looked fantastic. He's looked the part. So I don't mind looking at his props for sure.
Yeah, Dave just said could be a chalky D-man night for shots on goals, and it's exactly what I'm doing tonight. That's pretty much my thought process. Any other picks for you in this one?
One guy I'm going to probably sprinkle for a goal is the guy Linus Karlsson, playing on the line with Pettersson. Finally got his first goal of his career. I'd backed him like a couple games, his first couple games, I guess, playing in the league. He's been in and out of the lineup, but finally got one. I feel like when that happens with a young player, it doesn't hurt to go back to him. He had 2 shots last game too, so maybe he's feeling it. Pettersson's on that line, which, Pettersson's more a playmaking type player anyway. So depending where you shop around, his price looks pretty good. It looks like you can get plus 750 tonight. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Getting a guy like that that's playing on the line with that type of talent around them, it's worth a sprinkle for sure.
I like it. All right. Next game up, we have Columbus at Utah. Columbus plus 190, Utah minus 230. Total set at 5.5. Is this another fade spot for Utah at home, Franco?
Damn right. I mean, all right. So I grabbed Blue Jackets earlier today at plus 185. Obviously, it's continuing to move against me. I saw it as low as plus 165 this morning when I looked at it around like 8 a.m. And just to me, I don't see any reason why you're going to back Utah at minus 200. The big qualm, I guess, you have if you're going to take CBJ is I believe they're 0-7 on back-to-backs. And obviously that's not something you love to see if you're going to back them. But I mean, why the hell are you going to lay minus 230? You have to make for Utah and Reg, it's minus 165. That feels insane to me. I feel like they had a few games off. This isn't like a true. It's not like a heavily congested scheduling spot for CBJ here. I believe they had like 3 or 4 days off before they played that game last night as well. So yeah, it's a back-to-back, but it's not like they played, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It's, they had a nice break in between. Yeah, their last game was Saturday. So I'm expecting them to have enough juice tonight to at least put up some goals. Obviously, Cooley being out adds to that as well. I mean, where are the goals coming from for Utah now at this point? The lines are going to look ugly. I think Kerfoot's moving up to the top line. Like on a real team, a serious team, he's a third line player. Let's be honest here.
Yep.
So,
I was talking with Adam earlier today, Adam's Digest on Twitter. Be sure to give him a follow if you haven't yet. He asked me about time on ice props, and we kind of went through a few. Werenski, his line set at 27-40 tonight. And back-to-backs this season, he's gone under in 90% of those games. Not on the card, but just something for everyone out there. That was a great find by Adam. Do you have Hayton or Schmaltz without Cooley in the lineup, their shots?
I can pull it up real quick here. Give me a second.
All right.
I'll start with Hayton.
All right.
So no games this year without Cooley. I guess he hasn't missed. Last 10 overall. Hold on.
Yeah, I mean his numbers overall, he's gone over. He's hit his shots on goal prop at 5 straight, and his attempts have all been solid during that. So I'm not too concerned. Columbus is leaky to forwards. Their last 10, I want to say they rank 9th most of shots on goal to forwards. So I like Hayton tonight. Obviously not bettable as a straight. The other one is Nick Schmaltz as well at 2+. Any history of him without Cooley? No,
so I just looked.
Typically play together.
Hayton last year, or his last 5, you're looking at 2-1-3-0-5 without Cooley. Obviously, Cooley too is like kind of weird. It's like he's kind of moved into a more like relevant role with this team over the last few. So maybe that 5 is your true, barometer to go with there. Schmaltz though, 2-0-3-5-5 his last few. So he's gone to his last 2 5-5. But you're talking about April of 23, so that's 2 years ago, man. I mean, I just don't like what was the extent of Cooley's involvement at that point.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not necessarily relevant history. The only play in this one, like I said, would be Hayton and Schmaltz, both at 2. You parlay those together and you get plus 124. Not on the card tonight, but I was just trying to think of some sort of plays that we could give out for this one. So that's what I came up with.
You have any interest in Sergachev shots?
Let me pull it up.
I mean, he's top
Columbus
top
20th.
D. Yeah. And overall, he's hitting 4 of his last 5 at the 2 mark. Head to head, he's
4
hit
of his
against
last
them.
5 at home.
He's
head to head in each of his last
6 and
3.
6.
Yeah.
6 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not trying to reach for nothing here, but even if you go to his home splits, he's hitting 4 or 5 as well. So I don't know.
You're
Maybe
certainly
worth a
getting a good
sprinkle if
price
you're
at
looking for
minus
something.
120 tonight.
Yeah, for 2 shots.
Not necessarily
And his
ideal
volume's
but
decent.
Yeah.
His volume's decent too. So I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I'm just trying to
sticking
find
with
something.
the defenseman theme tonight. Maybe I'll just add him to the card for the late game.
There you go. Right. See how you're going.
Yeah. Any other plays for you in this one?
No, I think I might look at that Werenski under though. I'm kind of interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Credit to Adam for that find. All right. Last game of the night, St. Louis at Colorado. Colorado is minus 185. St. Louis plus 154. Total set at 5.5, minus 125 to the over. So may see some goals in this one, but straight away, Cale Makar, 3+ shots on goal, minus 135. St. Louis, 9th defenseman in their last 10 games. He's hitting 3 of 5, 6 of 8 versus St. Louis, 4 straight, and has gone 6 of 10 at home. He is a slight road dog, but at this number and this matchup, I'm willing to take it. So that is my play in this one. Did you have anything on your side?
I think I'm gonna trust Colorado. I grabbed them live last game against the Isles when they were down 1-0. They tied it 1-1. Gave up a bad goal. It's like defensive mental lapses. It was pretty brutal. And then had a power play goal go in, and it was taken away for goalie interference, which has been real fun to watch over the last couple of days for me personally. That Michkov goal was BS too. The one in this game, and that Islanders game between the Avs and Islanders was BS as well. I mean, if they want to just call it, if the player like gets their skate in the crease at all, like it was back in the 90s or whenever that was,
It's
like
like a catch in the NFL. No one knows. No one knows.
But you remember back in the day when it was like if a player's skate like even crosses into the crease, just like even like an out, like it's over. You're dead. The goal's off.
Well, that's how the Sabres lost to the Stars in the Stanley Cup. Brett Hull, the skate was in the crease and they didn't call it. More Buffalo luck.
Yeah, of course. Anyway, like if they're gonna do it like that, like because that's what it feels like they're like going towards with these rulings. Like it's like the guy has skate in the crease for 1 second, so like it's over. The goalie, whatever. It's getting ridiculous at this point. So, I mean, I've been really trying to look at unders in general tonight. I don't really see a ton of them, unfortunately. Just like I don't necessarily see enough, good goaltending tonight to see unders, but just something to kind of consider going forward here. This game I kind of lean over in general, I think a little bit, but yeah, I think I'm going to take Colorado and Reg. I feel like this is a game where, despite, like I said, these defensive lapses that I'm seeing from Colorado, which haven't been great, and my belief in general that I don't think Mackenzie Blackwood is all that, despite what like Colorado's fans were saying, that little stretch that he had. I get it. He looked good, and he was definitely better than Georgiev, but like he's just another guy in that long stack of just 25 goalies in the middle tier of this league. Because there's only like 3 really good ones. Like tell me the difference between him and UPL or Merzlikins right now, who's been playing great, or who I mean, like Vemelka. Like it's the same thing. They're all the same.
It reminds me a lot of Vejmelka.
Yeah, where it's like there's moments where it's like this guy's fantastic,
unbelievable. Yep. That's who he reminds me of.
I just don't rate these guys, man. Like you can't just be blinded by what you see. Like, yeah, when they're hot, take them, whatever you want to do. But I mean, that game, how do you go 4 goals to the Islanders? I'm sorry, but like ridiculous. But anyway, with that being said, I think this is a bounce back. Yeah, I know. Hey, they had their backup goalie, all right. So he did better than this Mr. Blackwood, who everybody's been raving about. So suck it. But anyway, with that all being said, I think there's some value on Colorado at minus 120 in Reg. So I'm leaning there, and I do lean to the over as well. I think there's going to be some goals. I think it's worth looking at Colorado props in some sort of way to get some value. Obviously, it's hard to. Maybe you go Nature's assists. Maybe you do like a McKinnon point and Nature's assist or something like that to get a little more value, whatever you got to do. But I do see some goals here for sure. I could see Colorado getting 4 or 5 tonight.
Yeah. I mean, both these teams kind of come in on losing streaks. So it essentially boils down to which team do you trust more, St. Louis or Colorado? And I would have to agree with you in your point of I think Colorado Reg's a pretty good spot for them tonight. So, all right. You want to recap your card before we maybe put together a little 2-leg parlay or maybe do 3 legs tonight?
Yeah, sure. So again, not too many player props for me, at least as of now. I might add, we'll see what happens as far as that goes. But leaning Nashville money line at -125. I think there's some value there. I will look for a first period over in that game as well. I don't want to lay the -145. If you want something pregame, I don't mind doing the both teams to score in the first period, or maybe just the over 6.5 in general. I think we see goals. That and the Colorado game feel like the 2 overs on the night here. I lean Vancouver money line against the Stars at +136. I think there's a lot of value there given their recent form and the loss of Heiskanen. Don't mind looking at Harley props and grabbing a little sprinkle on Linus Karlsson. Playing with Pettersson feels pretty good, and maybe some Hughes props as well, shots or 2 points. CBJ, I'm taking on the money line. I grabbed them at +185 earlier. They're at +190 now, so grab that better number. I think Utah's way too overvalued at home. Don't really have too many props in that game, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll grab that Sergachev shots on goal or that Werenski time on ice under. I need to look at that chart. And then give me Colorado and Reg at -120. I feel like this is a smash spot for Colorado, kind of get right spot against this Blues team that's been reeling. And I lean that over 5.5 for sure. I think we see a lot of goals there. Look for Nature's assist, or maybe he gets that goal. Maybe he gets that goal tonight. I think, Rantanen got his the other night. Maybe this is the night, maybe. So I'll look at that as well.
I like it. Yeah, I've Yossi 3+ shots on goal, -135 on FanDuel. Brady Shea 2+ shots on goal, -140 on DK. Quinn Hughes 3+ at +115 on DK. Nothing really in this Columbus, Utah. I may put together that shots on goal parlay with Hayton and Schmaltz that comes out to +124. And then in the late game, I have Cale Makar 3+ shots on goal, -135. Interesting. I'm looking up the daily specials for tonight. Highest scoring game, Columbus, Utah is at +235. Nashville, Buffalo, +250. St. Louis, Colorado, 3-1. Vancouver, Dallas, +330. Dallas, Buffalo is the only game with a 6.5 total right now, and it's still in that
not the highest ranked one.
And it's not the highest ranked one at +250. And you were also talking about St. Louis, Colorado expecting goals in that one, which is a 5.5 total. And so does Columbus, Utah, which is a favorite right now. If you're looking for an alternate angle or market tonight, sprinkling Nashville and Buffalo, the highest scoring game, and St. Louis, Colorado at 3-1, you get 2 options in a 4-horse race. I don't think that's necessarily a terrible bet tonight, but just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, I don't mind that. That's probably a good way to attack it instead of grabbing and hoping it's going to be that they get there. Because who knows? This could be another night where we see a bunch of 3-2, 2-1 games or whatever, and even a 5 or 6 gets us over. You know what I mean? Who knows? So scoring's been just funky, it feels like. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. What is your favorite play of the day? Can be player prop, can be side or total, whatever you're thinking of.
I haven't really thought about that. I guess I guess I'll do the Colorado in reg. I feel like they get this game here. I think they need to kind of pull their shit together when it really comes down to, you lose a guy like Rantanen. they haven't been the caliber of team that we expect them to be overall. You know, they're still a good team. They still have pretty decent depth. I know they're missing Val, but this feels like a spot against this Blues team that feels like they kind of just aren't that good of a team right now.
Yeah. That Brady Shea 2+, I love it, -140. So those two together is +214. Did you want to add a third leg, or with a 4-game slate, just leave it at 2?
Let's leave it.
All right.
Just, yeah, I mean, I don't think you need to like hammer this card. Let's put it that way. You know, this is not necessarily a big one for me tonight.
Yeah. All right. I think that about wraps it up. Anything else to add before we sign off?
No, I mean, we're closing out January today. Hopefully that means we're closing out the cold, shitty month that I feel like a lot of NHL cappers have had. I've seen like 1 or 2 guys that have been doing well in the NHL gambling space this month. So I don't know. I just feel like we hopefully can get a little bit of bounce back. Maybe it's not going to be till this 4 Nations break, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. Hopefully it turns now.
Yeah, we'll see if I can stay hot tonight after these 2 winning days. But you know how that always goes, is regress to the mean at this point. So, but I'm hoping for a good night tonight. I love all 4 of these props. So we will see. All right, we appreciate everyone for listening to this episode of Expected Bets 4. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you guys on Monday. Cheers.